So you served on the Intelligence Committee. That is one of the more difficult committees to get on. There's a lot of trust that was put into you by colleagues, really on both sides, to be able to have had that position. There seems to be a narrative that's arising in the United States, and it may be more on the right today, but I've seen it on the left as well, which is you can't trust our intelligence community. Our intelligence community has some nefarious mission that they're trying uh, to to pull off. They're a part of a deep state. Can you give me your view of our intelligence community after serving on the committee, what your view is of them, the role that you think that they play, when do you think they mess up, and
Yeah,
are they a force for good?
yeah, it's a great topic to discuss, and I think it's incredibly important. So maybe two or three elements to that. Number one is you're right. The intelligence. It's the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. It's really the most exclusive committee in Congress. It's very, very difficult to be selected and appointed to it. It's a very small committee. And we're told on that committee we have access to every piece of intelligence in the United States government. We can see the presidential daily brief. We're told there's no place you can't go, there's nothing you can't ask, there's nothing you can't see. And you wonder, well, why is that true? Why is the Intelligence Committee given that kind of authority? It's because we have given enormous power to the CIA, to the FBI, to the Department of Justice, to the DIA, to the 17 organizations or agencies that fall under what we call the IC or intelligence community. We've given them enormous power, whether it's the ability to surveil or to observe or to read people's emails. I mean, the list goes on, and most Americans are familiar with that. And we can't give them that power and then just say, well, we trust you guys. Go do whatever you want. I'm sure you won't ever abuse this. So, go about your work and we're just not going to worry or think about you anymore. We learned in the 1970s from the Church Commission, the CIA was abusing this power. Other agencies were as well. That's why the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the same committee in the Senate was created to provide oversight over that. Because if you give government power, they will eventually abuse it. I'm just convinced that's true, and history has shown us that. So the committees were created in order to bridle back these agencies. It's very important that they do that. But look, Americans have lost faith in these organizations. And by the way, it's not particularly the IC or the CIA or some of those that are actually more focused on intelligence. But no question, the FBI has abused their power. And when we are investigating some of these things, for example, and our committee was the one who was responsible for investigating the Russia collusion accusations. And we saw things and we thought, no, that just can't be. The FBI would not go to the FISA courts and lie to them. That's what we thought. And then we found out they did. And then, for example, we thought the FBI would not have someone wear a wire and secretly try to record the president or people around him without a warrant. And yet they did. And we saw these kinds of things. And as we revealed those to the American people, it's not surprising that many of them don't trust these agencies anymore. It's so bad for our society if you have these powerful organizations or agencies that people don't trust. They have got tremendous work to do to try to rebuild that trust. And it's absolutely critical that they do.
How do you think they do that? How do they do that and
Well,
make certain that they're rebuilding it on both sides at the same time?
yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's key to this is there can't be this perception that one of these agencies is on one team and not the other. There can't be this perception that there's rules of law that apply to people like you and me, but they don't apply to the elites or to the politically powerful. And I mean, if they want to rebuild that trust, they have to be clear and adamant that that's not what they're doing, and they have to show us that's not what they're doing. And I'll give you a really good example. There were some people in the FBI who unquestionably abused their power. And when you talk to the FBI director about this, you say, well, what's happened to those people? And he says, well, they're still under investigation. And we say, it's been 6 years. How could it possibly be still under investigation? What the director should say is, we recognize that they were abused their authority, and we fired them, and they're no longer with the FBI. That's the type of action that it's going to have to take. You can't hide these things. You can't say and protect some of these individuals like we've seen. The FBI can correct itself, and I think they will. I pray they will. Again, it's so important that they do for the American people not to lose that trust in them.
How do you see people like Edward Snowden?
Yeah. I haven't been asked that question. Wow, you used to get asked it all the time. There's some good news and bad news there, and to be very honest with you, most of it is bad news. Edward Snowden is kind of a hero to some folks because he did reveal some of the abuses of some of the agencies. He did reveal that they were collecting metadata or massive amounts of data, not private conversations or phone calls, but collecting what we call metadata, which is who's calling who and kind of threading those pieces together. And it was appropriate that the American people know that. I 100% agree. The American people needed to know that, and for Congress to know that, because we weren't even aware of it at the time, and to make a decision, is that the right thing? Let Congress decide that, because we represent the American people. So I actually think that was good that was revealed. But here's where it goes to the bad news now. If he had revealed only that, I would feel differently, but he didn't. That's only a tiny sliver of the information that he stole and that he revealed. He revealed highly, highly sensitive things that had nothing at all to do with American people or privacy. It was, some of our most sensitive information regarding our strategies, regarding weapons capabilities, regarding nuclear weapons capabilities. There was no reason for him to take that information, and there was no reason for him to make that available. And it's cost us hundreds of billions of dollars to try to protect ourselves after the information that he released was released. So, again, I support Americans' right to know what the agencies are doing, but he did more than that, and it was actually very destructive to our national security.